Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, broadcast in conjunction with KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-host, Hank Boyer, Kaylin, Amani, Michaela, and Brianna. Hank, could you give us a rundown on who we have on the show today, please?
We'll be speaking with Javier Solis, who is COO of Torotaxes, and then we'll be speaking with Michael Gordon, who's president of Ccpace.
Let's get to know our first guest, Javier Solis, COO of Torotaxes. Javier, what is Torotaxes?
Hello, Herb. Torotaxes franchise, it's a nationwide franchise. We have over 200 units in 29 states. We are the first and the largest Latino franchise of the industry.
And where you're from originally, how many brothers and sisters, where are you in the pecking order?
I'm from Ecuador. There are three, one brother, one sister. I'm in the middle.
You're the middle of three. And give us an idea, 8 to 14 years old, what was the list of stuff you were up to as a kid, 8 to 14?
Used to be part of the ping pong team in my school. I used to do taekwondo. I was part of the basketball team. And also something that I loved was music. I was also registered to the Conservatory of Music.
Mm-hmm. So ping pong and taekwondo, aren't those individual sports as opposed to basketball, which would be more of a team sport? What was your role on the basketball team?
I was in the center, and I wasn't a big guy. I was small and skinny, and I would just make sure that I would pass the ball strategically to the person that would be able to score. What's that role of being in the center of a basketball team have to do with your role as COO of Torotaxes? It has helped me a lot to making sure that all our staff and providers and our clients will get what we are supposed to get to become a successful business.
Brianna?
What moment has shaped you to the man you are today?
Well, there were a bunch of things in my life, but one of the biggest lessons that I had is when I came to this country. I didn't have papers, and I had to start working in a restaurant. When I was there, the chef, who was an Italian person, he was bullying. He will treat us really bad, especially the immigrants there. And despite of having graduated from my country, I have my college degree. I had to go back to college in this country to learn the language. And one of the best moments was when I left the restaurant after 4 years to start working for the senator. The New York State Senator. So after a month, I came back to the same restaurant, and I gave that chef my business card as the main assistant to the senator. That was one of the best moments I had in this country.
Michaela, what's your question?
What struggles depicted your internal beliefs, and how do you use them today?
There were a lot of struggles, especially when you are an immigrant. There is a lot of discrimination that you face, but all those things that you get while you are in this system, you have to turn it into the positive, okay? As a minority, you have to prove twice, even 3 times, that you are able to do what many other people do. Okay, so despite of getting all these discriminations and things like that, I was able to prove people and turn the no that people who want me to take into a yes. Okay, just to prove that I can, and I was able to do what they thought an immigrant with no language in this country was not able to do.
Imani?
I heard you say you weren't the biggest guy in high school. Was that an obstacle for you? Considering being center, those are usually for taller players. So how did you carry that out?
You're right, Manny. And the good thing is that when you're part of a team, you become very popular, okay, especially with the girls. But that was that, I was skinny, and the thing is, I was very friendly with all my friends, I would say, in school. And we had a nice group, okay? But in my group, there were two of the biggest guys next to me. Okay, so if anybody wanted to bully me, they would defend me. But as a small kid, I was fast. I would grab the ball and start going fast, and it was an advantage. Okay, the fact that I was small, I didn't see that as a disadvantage. The coach wanted me there because I was really fast and I would run more than the big boys there.
We're really proud to have these high school students from KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools co-hosting with us. You guys are asking great questions of our guests. Kaylin, how about you? What kind of question do you have for our guests?
Hello. Having immigrant parents, did that affect your academic career path?
Good question, Kaylin. And as an immigrant, my family was poor. Okay, when we were in Ecuador, we didn't have a lot of things, but something that my father gave me, and I will always be very grateful, was education. Okay, I graduated from one of the best colleges in Ecuador, and I came here with that education. Okay, I also was in a private institute 5 years learning English. When I came here, I didn't have my parents. Okay, I was alone, and I had to make some decisions in terms of whether I work or I go to school. But I had to do both things. I had 2 full-times, 1 part-time. I was the superintendent of the building where I used to live, and I went to school full-time. Why I had all those jobs? Because I had to pay double tuition. Because I didn't have papers, I was undocumented. So I had to pay double tuition, but I understood that I had to get my degree in order for me to succeed in this country. So I have my associate's degree. Then I went to the City University of New York to get my degree in banking and finance. And lastly, my master's in community development. I didn't finish the master because then my business was picking up and I didn't have time to go back to school.
Wow. You students from KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools are asking such great questions. What's the next question that you students might have for Javier? What's the next question? Javier, of all the experiences that you've had, what do you think was the one that shaped you the most? That gave you this drive, that gave you this ambition, or have you always been that way?
No, not at all. You learn a lot depending on what on the experiences and that you have in this life. Okay, one of the moments that shape out my character as a person, as an entrepreneur, was the death of my wife. That she had cancer. Okay, for 15 months. We were struggling, taking care of her. And that was the first year when I created the franchise. We were the first Latino franchise of tax preparation. And at the same time, my wife got sick. So I had to balance the trust that these first franchisees had in me to purchase the franchise and taking care of my wife. Okay, so it was something that I won't wish to anybody because
why do you think those franchisees stuck with you? Why did they stick with you?
Because I was there for them. Okay, I knew that my wife was sick, but I would take my laptop to the hospital to be with her. Okay, but I was answering questions from my franchisees when they had any issues with the software, when they had some questions on tax preparation and things like that. I knew that I wasn't the doctor. I wasn't there.
So your franchisees, they trusted you. They knew they could depend on you, even though you were going through difficult times and you communicated that to them. They knew that they could depend on you because you were there for them?
100%. And I still, we talk about 15 years ago. Okay, and many of them are still with me, and they are good friends because they saw when we were zero. And now we have over 200 offices, and they are like, wow, Javier, we have grown, because they don't have only one office. They are now, with 5 offices. They have areas with 11 offices. So we have grown together, and they've seen that what I promised them, I kept my word.
What is the website address for Torotaxes?
It's Torotaxes.com.
Let me have that one more time, please.
Torotaxes.com.
We've been speaking with Javier Solis, COO of Torotaxes, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. Stick around. Don't go away. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. This is Herb Cohen, your host of Executive Leaders Radio. And if you're a business consultant, if you consult to business owners or to business owners' team members, then we'd like to speak with you because we're getting requests from people all over the country, from entrepreneurs all over the country that are starting and building their businesses where they're looking for help. And maybe we can help connect you. Why don't you email us at consult@executiveleadersradio.com. That's consult@executiveleadersradio.com. And perhaps we can connect you to folks, to entrepreneurs and their team members all around the country that are looking for help. That's consult@executiveleadersradio.com. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts, Kaylin, Amani, Mikayla, and Brianna. Our guest is Michael Gordon, president of Ccpace. Michael, what is Ccpace? What are you guys doing?
Ccpace is an IT consulting company. We help clients in the financial services and healthcare industries build out their systems.
How large or how small is the company, and how did you get a job with it?
About 100 people strong. We have, I got a job right out of college with a small consulting firm, and 2 years later, myself and two others bought the firm.
And where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Wilmington, Delaware. Older sister, older brother. I'm the youngest.
And tell me a little bit about the 8 to 14. What kind of stuff were you up to 8 to 14? What's the list look like?
Loved all kinds of sports. Probably tennis and softball were the ones I played the most. The other thing going on was in the summers worked at my father's packaging plant, packaging up a product.
When you were working in your father's packaging plant, what were you doing in that plant? What was your job? What did you start off doing there?
Well, you start off as a grunt. You do whatever you need to do, and over time you took on different responsibilities.
Like what were you doing? Were you sweeping the floor? Were you packaging stuff or wrapping things?
We were packaging. We would run certain machines that we operated.
So what did you learn running certain machines in a packaging plant that has anything to do with building a business that's 100 people in the technology industry?
Well, ultimately, in that business, what we were doing is you had different stations, and everyone had sort of different roles, and you learn to be a part of a process that solved what was going on, and then you learned that it was important sort of to cross train so everyone could take on others' responsibilities.
Brianna, what's your question there?
What happened to you when you were 5?
So when I was 5, my mother passed away, and that obviously had a huge influence on my life. It just was a very big void, and had to deal with growing up with not having a mother.
So you were the youngest of 3, and your mom passed when you were 5. How do you think that's affected your success as CEO of this company, this technology company with 100 people?
Well, I think one of the things that it taught me was coping, and how to deal with challenges. My father also passed away when I was 15, and you learn that we can either spend time bemoaning your plight, or you can deal with the situations that you've got. And I chose the latter.
Michaela?
All right, so I can relate to you as well. I lost my father, and I come from a mother in which lost both her parents. Something I have to ask you is, what was something they said that stuck with you, or that they implied a lot that you reside with till this day?
It would have to be, it's a great question, Michaela. It would have to be from my father, because I really don't have any memories of my mother. But one of the things that he always showed me was to treat people well, and they're going to help you. They helped us, help me when I didn't have a mother, help me when I didn't have either parents. And they're supportive, and it's really important to show your appreciation for what people can do, and the good that people have, and how they can help you. And that's what you need to do in business, and that's what you need to do in life. And to the extent that you're paying that back, that's the right thing to do.
Kaylin?
My question is, do you think it's time for you to retire? Do you have thoughts, I've done enough, it's my time, I should just be a normal person right now?
I get asked that a lot. I won't tell you my age, but I certainly am old enough to retire. And I don't really want to retire. I get energy by being around people, by accomplishing things, and whether it's clients or employees, and everybody gets their different motivations from different things. But to me, do what you like, and don't have a time frame set for anything. Just know who you are, and pursue the things that are going to energize you in life.
Amani?
When you talk about childhood, it seems like you're very much an athletic type. So was there ever a time in your company where the ball was not in your control?
That's a fabulous question. If you're the president or CEO, you learn that the ball is always in your courts. That at the end of the day, the success or lack thereof comes from the ownership of that with you. Now that doesn't mean that you're not passing the ball. You better be relying on lots of members of your team to do various things. But when things don't go exactly the way that you would want them to do, take ownership and figure out how to solve it. Don't regret what happened, but learn from it, and then figure out how the next play will work well.
Our students from KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools, you guys are doing a great job co-hosting this interview. What's the next question that you folks want to know the answer to?
Were you ever betrayed by someone you trust in your company, or like a close friend? And what did you do? How did that change your perception on, building relationships and businesses?
Yeah, very, very insightful. I've never was betrayed. I had a partner at the beginning of the company, and what I learned there was you need someone whose values are in line with yours. And so, again, never was betrayed, but it was clear to me that if we were not in, alignment, you better, go in separate ways. And that's what we did. And we, fairly amicably, split the company up and we moved on.
How young were you, Michael, when you had the sense of where people fit
within the company?
No, fit in terms of your friends or in terms of people or who you could depend on for what? How young were you when you got a sense that you could depend on people and where people fit into your life? And when did that happen? How young?
I would say it was fairly young. I'm guessing it was before I was 12. And you could sort of, again, when you've got this, void in a mother, you see who sort of steps up and, truly, is trying to be helpful as opposed to sort of just, somewhat giving lip service to that. And that's as friends and adults.
And how's that, you're knowing that you can depend on people, how's that helped you grow 100-person business?
Well, we're in a services business, and it's all about people. People are delivering, those services, and so you find out pretty quickly who's in it for the team, and the clients, and sort of who's in it for themselves. And when we go through the recruiting process, there's people that have plenty of talent to do the job that we're looking for them to do, but they don't necessarily have the team mindsets, and you don't really want them on your team. And if you can, you don't hire them from the beginning.
So it goes back to your ability when that reasonably terrible situation occurred and your mom passed, where you learned who you could depend on. That skills actually helped you build the business, it sounds like. What's the website address for this organization known as Ccpace?
Ccpace.com, ccpace.com.
We've been speaking with Michael Gordon, who is the president of Ccpace here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our CEOs, our guests. Don't go away. We'll be back in a moment right after this brief message. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts including Scott Rankin, Scott Hamburger, and Hank Boyer. This show is produced in conjunction with KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools. And our co-hosts, our student co-hosts today include Jin, Alex, Kaylin, Sinai, Imani, Mikhaila, and Brianna. Our guests include Adam Lurie, Chief Strategy Officer of Torch.ai, Craig Edsell, CEO of Clemens Food Group, Michael Gordon, President of Ccpace, and Javier Solis, COO of Torotaxes. Let's get to know our first guest, Adam Lurie, Chief Strategy Officer of Torch.ai. Adam, what is Torch.ai? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, Torch.ai provides a product, Nexus, that essentially uses artificial intelligence to turbocharge your data and presents it for analysis and insight.
Where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters? Where are you in the pecking order?
Yeah, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I am the second of 4 children.
And 8 to 14 years old, what kind of stuff are you doing 8 to 14 years old?
Yeah, I was big into sports and music, so I played soccer and volleyball, and then I was also in the band and orchestra.
So volleyball, what was your role on the team? What was the personality trait that you brought to that role on that team?
Yeah, so I was the middle hitter on the volleyball team. We were a state champion volleyball team, and I brought a level of tenacity and hunger to the defense.
What does tenacity and hunger have to do with your role as Chief Strategy Officer of Torch.ai?
So I've spent most of my career as an entrepreneur, and to be able to survive in that environment, you need to be able to have the hustle and ability to constantly sort of be fueling the fire.
And you mentioned that you played in the band and orchestra. What was your favorite instrument? Why was it your favorite instrument? And what's tell us about your personality?
Yeah, so I played the oboe, clarinet, and drums, but the oboe was definitely my favorite. There was a level of uniqueness that existed in the band and orchestra that I just didn't see in other instruments.
What's that uniqueness and difference? What's the difference in uniqueness have to do with your role, with your personality trait as Chief Strategy Officer of Torch.ai?
Well, I've always found that throughout my career, I've wanted to be one of one. And so, there are only one or two oboes in the band or orchestra. And that has sort of been fueled my fire in my professional life.
Sinai?
Was there a certain celebrity or a person in your life that influenced you when you were younger?
Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur later in life, and I watched how hard he worked and sort of his hustle, and he really instilled those values in me.
Alex?
What would you tell your younger self to change anything or keep anything the same?
Yeah, I'd really tell myself, this is about the journey. It's about the ride. We often think about the outcomes and we're trying to accomplish, but so much of the enjoyment as I look back on my career has been about the journey, not necessarily the destination.
Kaylin?
Hi, when people hear the name Adam Lurie, what should they think?
Yeah, so I love the quote that somebody said. When you talk to somebody or they think about you, you want them to remember how you made them feel, not specifically what you said. And so I think about all the people I've interacted with throughout my career, and I wanted to treat them the right way, communicate with them the right way, and just feel like that when people think about me, that articulates exactly how I want them to think about me.
Jin?
Who did you look up to when you were a kid?
Yeah, it was definitely my father, as he, ran his own business, and I watched him do it from the house, and saw how he made decisions and balanced his family and his professional life.
Sinai?
Growing up, was there a certain class that always was like a favorite for you?
Yeah, I loved math and statistics. They were the classes that I was really good at. Of course, I didn't major or do anything with math or statistics as I moved to college. But what I found throughout my career, they're the things that I've sort of gotten back to and really enjoyed, and using math and statistics throughout my professional life.
Alex?
What challenges did you face?
Yeah, so in high school, I'd say there was an experience where I wasn't a great public speaker, wasn't necessarily confident in myself. And so I specifically remember a scenario where I ran for student council. And had the opportunity and go speak in front of 500 people, and was absolutely sweating and scared to go do it. Gave a great speech, didn't actually win, but it was one of those events that I look back on and just gave me a tremendous amount of confidence in myself that I didn't have before.
Kaylin?
Yes. In your field of work, do you think you've done enough, or you could do so much more?
I think you can always do more. And I'm the type of individual who has an internal motor. I am incredibly competitive. And so I'm constantly looking at ways to improve, innovate, create, and win. And so even though I'm satisfied with plenty of the things I've done in my career, I'm always looking for more.
Jin?
What makes you different from other people?
Yeah, so I've stood around rooms before and looked and said, why am I at the top of the pyramid? What have I done when I'm standing next to people who are unbelievably intelligent and capable and qualified? And I think I have a level of risk and conviction where I'm willing to make bets or take a level of risk in certain things that I believe in. And so I just sort of tell people and provide guidance and wisdom that, be willing to stand up for your own beliefs, because it helps out.
Mr. Hamburger?
Tell us about the role of mistakes in your learning and development.
Yeah, I mean, I've made a ton of mistakes throughout my career. I'm incredibly self-reflective, and always like to tell myself I'll make mistakes. I'll make more in the future, but I try not to make the same one twice. So very reflective on that.
Mr. Rankin.
What would you be doing if you weren't working at Torch.ai right now?
Oh, if I wasn't working at Torch.ai, I would probably be buying and selling non-fungible tokens because I am fascinated by crypto and blockchain and sort of how our society is going to kind of interplay with all of that in the future.
How young were you when you started making money?
Oh, my first job was at 14.
What were you doing?
Working at Baskin-Robbins, scooping ice cream.
Whose idea was it for you to get that job?
Oh, my parents told me to go out and get that first job.
Who got the job for you?
No, that was me. It was there were only a couple of places that were walkable from where I lived, and Baskin-Robbins was one of them. So
how'd you get the job? How'd you get the job?
I walked in and applied.
And how old were you?
14.
What were you supposed to be when you started there? What did they expect you to start doing?
Just scoop ice cream.
How long did you work there for?
I worked there one summer, and my best part of that summer is when I served Scottie Pippen.
Okay, so you worked there. You started. What were you supposed to be doing when you started working there?
Just scooping ice cream.
And then you worked there for the whole summer.
Yep.
By the end of the summer, what were you doing?
Oh, by the end of the summer, I mean, I was making cakes. I was closing up the shop. I mean, it was about a 3-month gig, and they had given me more responsibility throughout it.
Why do you think they gave you more responsibility and you're only 14 years old, and it's only been 3 months, and they're letting you close up the shop? You could have stolen all the money. You could have eaten all the ice cream. You could have had a party there with all your friends. Why do you think they trusted you and gave you more and more responsibility after only knowing you for 3 months?
Yeah, because every time I showed up to work on time, I sort of did the tasks that they expected from me. But I will tell you, I did eat all the ice cream.
And what did you learn from that job? What did you learn from scooping ice cream at Baskin-Robbins at the age of 14 that has anything to do with your being the chief strategy officer at Torch.ai?
I'll tell you, I learned that work is hard. The one thing that, you think about if you're standing on your feet all day, every day, it gets tiring by the end of the day when you're locking up. So that you've got to have that hunger if you want to be successul.
Were there other kids that were working there as well?
There were.
What'd you do different than all the other kids?
I think I just showed up on time. I think truly that was a difference between myself. You had to be there at 9 a.m. I'm showing up at 8:55, and other folks are showing up at 9:15, 9:30.
So you took things seriously. What's the website address of this organization known as Torch.ai?
Yeah, it's www.torch.ai.
Give me that one more time.
www.torch.ai.
And your name's Adam Lurie. You're the Chief Strategy Officer of Torch.ai. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio and Real World Leaders. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, stick around. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. This is Herb Cohen, your Executive Leaders Radio host. And the CEOs we've interviewed on this show are interested in helping you get your business started and helping you grow your business, whether you're aware of the issues or whether you want the CEOs to give you a hand identifying the issues in getting your business started and or in growing your business. Why don't you email us at consult@executiveleadersradio.com. That's consult@executiveleadersradio.com. Whether you're interested in having our CEOs speak with you regarding getting your business started or growing your business, send us an email at consult@executiveleadersradio.com. and we'll be sure to get back to you shortly with some help. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders. It's your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts, Jen, Alex, Kaylin, Sinai, Scott Rankin, and Scott Hamburger. I'd like to introduce Craig Edsell, CEO of Clemens Food Group. Craig, what is Clemens Food Group? What are you guys doing?
Well, Clemens Food Group is a 125-year-old family business that provides 4 billion meals a year and has 4,100 team members.
Wow. Where you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Yep, I grew up in rural Iowa, northeast Iowa, and I'm the middle of 2.
All right. Middle of 3. And 8 to 14 years old, what's that list look like? What kind of stuff are you doing 8 to 14?
Yeah, being in Iowa, I guess horticulture, plants, and all that was a passion, clubs, but also wrestling and football.
Wrestling. Why'd you like wrestling?
Well, first of all, we were undefeated in 4 years, had a great team, a great bonding, but I loved it because there was an individual component, but also we were part of a team and we win and lose together, even though there was an individual piece.
So were you the best wrestler on the team? And also, how'd you affect the dynamics of that team?
Yeah, so no, I wasn't the best. I was average. We had some wonderful state champion caliber folks, but my job and role there was to be the keep it loose, have fun. It's a journey, and put it in perspective. We don't need to be so serious.
So this role you had, this unofficial role, which was keep everybody together, keep it loose, have fun, enjoy the journey. What's that have to do with your role as the CEO of Clemens Food Group?
Well, I think it cascades to the entire team here that we have high expectations. But we need to, smell the roses and enjoy the journey and not to put too much pressure on ourselves. By doing that, we can bring out the best of ourselves.
Alex.
What is a characteristic that you've had from then that you still carry today?
Yeah, my grandmother would tell you this. I had relentless curiosity. I was always asking questions, and I still am. I've been in this industry for 30 years. I'm still inquisitive of how we can get better and how the business works. And it's a passion of mine and just a characteristic that's just been very important to me.
Sinai?
What made you decide to get into this career path?
Well, it's interesting. My path was going to be in horticulture. I was going to own a nursery and have a greenhouse. I applied to college. I couldn't get into that. And so I looked at, what else am I good at? I was good at finance. So I decided to go in accounting and finance. So I think I didn't have a path, but I looked for what doors were open and what opportunities were there and decided to go a different direction based on a door that was open.
Kaylin?
Do you ever feel like you've done enough and it's time for you to retire?
Well, sometimes I'm old and I feel tired, but no. I mean, we have a wonderful team yet, and there's so many more things that we can accomplish. And so the passion is about that team and our team and what we can do. So we never, even if we succeed to a certain level, we can do more. And we have a team that works together well. So it pulls you in.
Jen?
As CEO, how do you spend your time?
Well, I spend my time trying to learn on what I can get better, but how I spend my free time with my 4 daughters. I love hunting, fishing outdoors too. My wife and I do. And so family is very important to me.
Alex.
You say you have 4 daughters, and what would your expectations be for your daughters now that you have done what you've done?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've been blessed that I've been able to provide them a college education without debt and a car that runs. The rest is up to them. And so my expectations, and I'm so proud of them, is that they work hard and they follow their passion and they love what they do. 3 of them are in healthcare. One's in the service industry, but that they're passionate about it. And they have things that they're passionate about in life too. Like one daughter loves animals and she's passionate about helping and being in shelters and all that. And so those are the things that you hope for your daughters.
Sinai?
What is a moment in your career that you're most proud of?
Well, the business is growing and all that good stuff. You know what? That's not a big deal to me. What I'm passionate about is making people better and being part of growing and being better today than I was yesterday. But I want to tell you a story. One time I had an individual that wanted to meet with me and he was leaving the company. And I thought, okay, here we go. He's going to complain. and I'm going to listen to him. But he came in and he said, Craig, I don't know if you remember, about 8 years ago, my wife was on her deathbed, and you called me out in a meeting and prayed for me, and you don't know it, but that was a difference of me of possibly taking my life. And it's things like that you realize that you're here for a purpose and well beyond what the business does.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Jin.
What keeps you working?
The team. We got 4,100 people, and we can get better and stronger every day. And just the passion, the 4,100 people, it takes every one of these 4,100 to be successful. And we're in it together. And I think I make a difference, as does everyone else in that team. And I think that's just what brings me back and what drives me.
Mm-hmm. Kaylin?
Being this lucrative right now, do you think that it's somehow changed you?
I hope not. Yes, I don't have to worry about certain things that maybe others do, but it hasn't changed my life. I don't live large. I'm humble. I want my daughters to see I'm humble. I don't have big dreams of spending money and doing stupid stuff. I just enjoy being with family. But it does help not have to worry about sometimes paying the bills. I'm going to be honest with that. But other than that, not a lot.
Mm-hmm. Scott Hamburger.
How often are you right? And how do you deal with it when you're wrong?
Well, I always tell the team here, my goal is to be right 51% of the time, because I figure I'm beating the average, and that's being successful. So it's not really about being right or wrong to me. It's about the learnings. I shared wrestling as my passion, and I hold in that high school, I hold the record for the most reversals in a season. What that means, though, I got taken down a lot. And so for me, I've taken that vision going forward. It's not about sometimes you get taken down. It's what you do with it. What do you learn from it? And how do you turn the situation into a positive?
Mr. Rankin.
You got 4,100 employees there. What's your favorite event that you all do as employees together?
Well, we have company picnics where in fact, we have one this summer in June, a grand opening of a new building, and we get together and everybody brings their family. And so you get an opportunity to meet well beyond the individuals that work here, but also their family.
Wait a minute. You're the CEO of the company. Don't you sit in the fancy dancy office and come in at 10 or 11 o'clock and have drinks for lunch and go home at 2 or 3? And you don't have to work weekends or nights or anything like that, do you?
No, it's absolutely the opposite of that. I get in at 6:30 every morning. I work long hours. But I think the important thing, too, is if you're going to lead, you've got to show that you're willing to do anything that anybody else would do. So I've picked up garbage in the parking lot, and I'm willing to do that. So it's not, for me, it's not a free ride. It's not about something, some status thing. It's about being part of a team.
You mentioned that there was somebody that came to you that was going to leave the company, and you sat down and you talked with them, and they told you something you had done 10 years ago. What struck me was that you said you prayed for them. So you get to know your people?
Yeah, we share prayer concerns. The senior team, for example, and many other teams, we share prayer concerns of our team, and we hold them up to to God, but even to each other, that we're concerned, and we get involved with how we can help them.
So you're telling me there's a spiritual faith component to business? I thought business was blood and guts and suing people and stepping on people, and nobody cares about anybody else. You're giving me the opposite impression.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is there's a lot of urban legend on that, and maybe some businesses are like that, but there's a lot of businesses that are like what I'm describing too, and I know many of them.
How old is your business?
125 years.
And it's 4,100 employees, and you guys have been in business 125 years. So I guess you know something about building a team and building a business over time, and you don't think it's about stepping on people and beating people up and stuff like that?
No, it's about win-win. How do we grow together? We have partners that are hog producers, farmers. We have accounts that we sell to. It's not about, it's about joining and being a partnership to build for the long term. Build for the long term, and we can win together.
Is there such a thing as trusted relationships in business?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key.
What's the key? What's the key?
Building trust and confidence in one another. That we are looking at our customers and how do we support and success them. We have a philosophy that we want to be the leader in customer solutions. Well, we're helping them with solutions that they may not even know exist. And how do we flex into their world and be part of that?
Wow. Mm-hmm. What's the website address for this organization known as Clemens Food Group?
Yeah, it's clemensfoodgroup.com, www.clemensfoodgroup.com.
ClemensFoodGroup.com. We've been speaking with Craig Edsell, CEO of Clemens Food Group, here on Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-host, Scott Rankin, Scott Hamburger, and Hank Boyer. Again, this show's been produced in conjunction with KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools. Our student co-hosts include Jin, Alex, Kaylin, Sinai, Imani, Mikhaila, and Brianna. And our guests today have been Adam Lurie, Chief Strategy Officer of Torch.ai, Craig Edsell, CEO, Clemens Food Group, Michael Gordon, President of Ccpace, and Javier Solis, COO of Torotaxes. I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, thank you for joining us again on Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.